Hi my lovelies, welcome back to my channel, and for everybody who is new, I'm Leorah and I'm so glad you found me. So sweeties, welcome to today's video, which is going to be the review of the Cake palette from Glamlite. And this was actually really cool for me to try out because it is a first impression of the brand. I have never had anything before from Glamlite, and I'm also going to tell you, of course, in the review part at the end a little bit more like what I think about the palette. Obviously, I'm not going to take that away right now. I did now today the fifth look with this palette. Let me just show you because maybe you don't know how this palette looks. This is how she looks. She is super colorful and stunning. You have a lot of shimmers, you have a lot of mattes, and it's just a very bright and colorful and happy palette, which I absolutely enjoy. This is a super stunning color scheme and I really like it. Now I'm going to put the pictures of the looks that I have done with the palette. This is going to be 4 looks, so I hope I have enough room on the screen to show you. I have done looks with everything and I hope you're seeing them right now while I'm speaking. I have tried different techniques. I have tried, of course, like different placements of the shadows, as you can see, and all of the looks came out actually super nice. I hope you do enjoy them too. So anyway, I did really go in depth into this palette. I don't think I have ever done 5 looks with a palette, but I just felt that this palette really deserves some extra attention. Usually when I have a big palette, I just go into each color scheme, you know, and I'm trying to use like 90% of the shades or whatever, but including this look today that you're going to see shortly, I used actually everything in this palette, so I can tell you about every single shade in this palette. Anyway, you are going to see this look being created very soon, and I'm going to, as always, speed it up, put some music so it doesn't take like a huge amount of time, and it's going to be entertaining enough so you don't click out hopefully. So, but before that, I just want to do some swatching of the palette, and I most probably will have to speed this up because, of course, this palette is not very small, so I'm not going to talk about every shade while I'm swatching. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to do pretty small swatches so I can fit them all on my arm, and that's it. So let's just do it. Okay, sweeties, these are the swatches here of all the shades in the Glamlite palette. I think you can see I'm getting a little bit better at this. They actually don't look like a massacre. I'm really proud of myself. And yeah, they look even quite straight and pretty okay. So anyway, I must tell you that this palette swatched really well. I had nothing on my arm, just a little bit of body lotion, because maybe you know that I'm still suffering from very dry skin from my skin condition. But anyway, this is really nice, and maybe you can see also the color scheme is just so vibrant and so nice, happy, summery, and you can do so many looks with this. There are so many options. It is just like my mind exploded when I opened this palette. I mean, I knew the palette from seeing it online, but when you actually hold a product in your hand and then you open it, I don't know if you feel like that too, and then you get this explosion in your head about all the color combinations you see and all the looks you want to do. Everything went into overdrive, you know. So that's just how I work. I don't know if that is for you too. Anyway, so let's just go into the look so you can see how I created this one, and then we'll go to the review part, and I hope you enjoy. And here we are, sweeties. This is the finished look and the final look that I have done with the Cake palette from Glamlite for now. Okay, so how are we liking it? Okay, let me just zoom you in a little bit. Okay, this is how it looks, and now we're just gonna go straight to the review part. Okay, with today's look, I have actually used everything in this palette. I've tried every single shade, and I must say I'm actually really liking this palette. Now, in the beginning, as usually, I have a problem when I'm starting a new palette and a new brand that I have never used before, because I just need to familiarize myself with the palette. So the first look, or let's say the first two looks, even though they came out amazing, and I mean, you saw the pictures and I hope you like them too, but the first two looks that I didn't really enjoy so much, because that is always how I feel when I'm trying something new. I just need to get a feeling for the brand, for the formula, for all of this. Then slowly I started to actually really enjoy the palette. So that doesn't mean that it's not performing well, it's just that this is how I always feel when I'm trying a new formula, and that is just really a reason that I do not enjoy first impressions, because my first impressions are, you know, it works, but did I enjoy this? Probably not so much, because I don't know yet what to say or what to feel about the brand. So now here we are after all those looks and after trying everything. Okay, how did everything work? I think everything worked very good. The shimmers started to work better once like the first layer was off. In the beginning I had a bit of trouble picking the shimmers up with a brush. Now today when you saw this, I actually did pick them up with a brush, because these were all shades except this one that I applied with my finger in the middle of my lid. But this shimmer and this shimmer and this shimmer I had used before, so that top layer was off, and actually it applied nicely with the brush. Besides that, of course, shimmers always seem to be working better when you apply them with a finger, and of course on a sticky base. So besides that, I think that the mattes build well, they were blendable. As you can see, there is nothing that I didn't like. For most of the looks I had to of course pull in my little bone color matte that I also showed you in the look, which is here in my little compact. This is my bone color matte here, because there are not, you know, a lot of shades in this palette to blend the darker and more vibrant shades out. There's basically just this one and this one, if you ask me, maybe the green, but so I pulled that in. I don't have a problem with that. That is not a criticism of the palette. It's just what I do in order to blend out the shades, because I need it to be blended. Otherwise, I cannot, you know? So anyway, I do feel the color scheme of the palette is absolutely spectacular. And this is really what made me fall in love with the palette. I think this is more than a rainbow palette. It has way more to offer, because I consider rainbow palettes just being one shade of each category, and here you have a whole bunch of shades that have different variations to them, and that's why I do not necessarily consider it a rainbow palette. I think this is way beyond a rainbow palette in the best way. So I got used to the weird packaging, because as you know, this is not necessarily like what I would go for. This is my first palette that has unusual packaging, and of course my first food themed palette too. And maybe if you know me just a tiny little bit, then you know that I'm just starting to get over it, because for me that was a big trigger always up until now. Now actually that I've started to use this, and I know that this has no calories, because it says here on the back, it actually is not so threatening anymore, and I think I'm getting over it. Now, would I now go ahead and buy the pizza palette? That it doesn't mean that. I'm just saying I'm glad that I got this palette. So let's just go through this a little bit more. We have of course amazing cardboard packaging. It feels really good. Also the sprinkles here, they are a little bit like 3D, you know, they stick out a little bit, and it's really nice. The whole way they made the palette is actually really creative and really nice. So we of course have a big mirror here, and what else can I tell you? It's overall, it was a very good experience. Just like I said, the first looks of a palette that I'm doing with a palette are always a little bit like a struggle bus, even though the looks come out good. So I'm glad that I really invested a whole week into this and did as many looks as I wanted with this without pressure, and like really playing with it, because I do believe that that just makes sense. First of all, because I paid money for this, and I paid enough money to not just do a first impression and then put it to the side and move on to the next thing, but also again because I firmly believe that first impressions mean nothing. Because if I would have filmed with this palette a first impression, I would have told you, well, the look came out okay, but was that pleasurable? You know, this is what my assumption would have been about the palette. And would I have then picked it up again? Most probably not, you know? So this commitment to just work with a palette and work through the start out troubles, I don't know if there is like an official word for this, it just makes sense, because this is how life is. This is how we have to approach our problems, you know? This is not a problem. I'm just saying in general, you cannot just like after trying once run away. It just doesn't make sense in life. So that's why I committed to the palette. This is what I'm doing here on my channel now, because I also get a way better opinion, and I do not have to forcefully, that's also another point, I do not have to forcefully in this one first impression look put so many colors in, just to use as many colors as I possibly can to get a first impression, and then potentially just throwing off the whole look because it's just forced, you know? Like this, I can take my time. I can take 4 or 5 or just 3 or whatever colors per look, whatever I feel like, and it's good, you know? So there is nothing in this palette where it would say it didn't work. And I would probably compare the formula to the Spotlight palette from You Can Be Makeup. So not color scheme wise, just formula wise, the way the mattes reacted and the shimmers and everything, how they build, how they blended, how all of that, the feeling of the formula feels a little bit like the Spotlight palette from You Can Be. If you have that palette and you have nothing from Glamlite, then maybe you know what that means. I personally have not tried millions of brands, so I do not have a lot of reference points, but this is my experience, what I can tell you. I don't know if that helps, but it is a good formula. It works good, and I did eventually after those first looks really start to enjoy myself with this palette. Now I would recommend this palette, absolutely. Just make sure that this first layer of the shimmers is off, because that was a little bit annoying. And I also noticed that, for example, with the what was the palette called, the Jamrock palette from Playing in Makeup by Yolanda, there is always this first layer on it, and I don't, like for example from Juvia's Place, I don't know that. There are other brands who don't do that, so I don't know if this is some new technique that they are doing, or to make it more like adorable, or I have no idea. So I'm not in creating makeup, so I don't know what the reason for this is, but I just want to suggest to you, take off that first layer, rub it off a little bit with a brush, and then you get to the layer that actually works much better. Yeah, so I think that is what I have to say about the palette. I got this on sale. I think it was like a 35% sale, because I usually try to buy my makeup on sale. It just makes sense. So that's why you're only getting to see this now and not on release. And I really, I'm happy that I bought this palette, because first of all, it was a first impression of the brand itself. I can see myself buying more of Glamlite eventually, but I have a lot to get through. As of right now, I have no reason to do that, you know, but maybe eventually. I have my eye on a couple of their palettes anyway. So that is that. I hope you did enjoy and you found this helpful. And of course, if you're new here, then please subscribe to my channel. Just know that first impressions is not my thing, and I'm most probably going to avoid like crazy to do them. I just really want to use my makeup and I want to get most out of it, and I also want to give you an opinion, like a real opinion that has grown over time, over a week or something of just using this one product. This is what I'm doing now because I really enjoy doing that. So anyway, please subscribe to my channel, leave me your comments in the comment section down below. Of course, you will find everything on my face listed in the description box and everything else that you need to know. And besides that, come back for my next video, which is going to be super soon. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you for joining me here, and up until next time, go ahead and sparkle. Hugs and kisses. Bye.